YouTube. I didn't see you there. I was too busy hunting for shinies on my Nintendo Game Boy Advance SP model number AGS 101s. These things are really cool, you know? They come in all kinds of different colors like pink, graphite, SpongeBob, green, other green, gold, orange, blue, and yellow. Only 2 of these colors you see behind me are factory. I take that back. 3 of these you see behind me are factory. Now what about the other 5? How did I get those? Well, I have made a video about this SP right here. This is my limited edition Japanese exclusive Rayquaza SP that you could only get from the Pokemon Center in around 2005. I've modified this dim-only SP to actually contain a bright screen and a bright motherboard. When I made that video, a few people expressed that they were disappointed that I didn't make a complete tutorial. Due to the amount of money that was at stake with this SP, I really just wanted to focus and get the repair done. But now I have a new shell that I want to install over one of my bright SPs, and I'm going to be making a complete step-by-step tutorial for you so that you can do the same yourself and not worry about screwing anything up. Come on over, we'll take a closer look, and we'll get this thing done. Alright, so here we are at my desk. I'm going to go ahead and move my mouse pad to the middle. Mouse pads are great surfaces for working on this on, and my mouse pad is a little bit big. And I want to give you a little bit of background before I actually begin. So first of all, the shell that I'm going to be transplanting into, let me show you here. It is unlike anything I've ever seen. This is a transparent Game Boy SP shell. I've always kind of kept my eye on the market for SP shells, and the colors never really changed. You would always be able to find gold like this, and green, and this was originally just a plain surf blue color, or not surf blue, cobalt blue, and this was just a knockoff Pikachu SP shell. But you can buy all kinds of shells on the internet, and this is the first of its variety I have seen, so I'm very excited to have an actual clear SP. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking the innards out of one of these bright SPs and essentially replacing the shell. Now the question is, which SP am I going to do that for? Because I actually have 8. And if you know a thing or two, you'd probably say, well, he's not going to do it to the Rayquaza, and he's not going to do it to the SpongeBob, probably. You'd be correct. And you might also guess that, well, this is his last non-rare factory direct SP. This one comes straight from the factory too, but graphites are pretty rare, so I want to keep that one. This one's straight from the factory, but I want to keep it because you know exactly why. There's 2 reasons why I don't want to do it with this SP. The first reason is right in here. There's actually a stripped screw in there. You can't see it, but no fun. The second reason is that the screen on this SP is actually starting to die. Take a look. You'll notice at the corners, it's very white. It's fading on the edges, especially right there. You can see it better, and then on this next screen you can see. There, that's a better view. If you look at the corners, there's white fading in on the corners now, and that's a sign of wear on the SP. So I'm going to end up replacing this SP. I don't want a faulty screen to be on the inside of the new shell. So this is a decision I've actually already made. The SP that's going to be going inside this clear shell is this one. This is an SP I really like, but I have 2 reasons for wanting to replace it. This is 2 aftermarket shells, what remains of a Pikachu shell and what remains of a cobalt blue shell. However, when I was reassembling this, I made a mistake and I used a screw that was too long right here where the battery goes. And so that screw actually came up, and now there's a little nub between the start and select button. Now, I kind of like that because not only is it pretty much perfectly symmetrical, it could almost just pass as like a closing nub for this rubber spot right here. But there's also another issue I don't like, and that is, if you look to the side right there, you can see a little bit of light on the right side of the SP's screen, and that's light that does not exist in my other systems, and I believe it's because the faceplate was improperly applied. So, yeah. we're going to be taking the SP out of this shell and putting it into this shell. All you're going to need is 2 types of screwdrivers. I've got all mine here. There's 2 of each kind in here. You want a tri-wing screwdriver and a Phillips head screwdriver that are very small. Almost always the shell you purchase will come with some screwdrivers like these, and these are just the ones I've accrued. But they caught me by surprise with this shell because they sent me some very nice looking screwdrivers, so I'm going to be attempting to do it with those. But yeah, I'm going to zoom in a little bit farther so we can see the SP better. And let us begin with step 1, which is just going to be taking the SP completely out of its shell. So, let's begin. First thing you want to do is turn it over, and there are a total of 7 screws down here that we're going to end up wanting to remove. The first screw is over the battery shell. So let's do that. Or the battery cover, rather. We're going to take out our battery. And you'll notice in the back, under the battery cover, there's a little screw at the very top right there. This one's coming pretty close to being stripped, so it's good that we're getting it out. That's the second screw you'll want to unscrew. The way I'm going to be keeping track of my screws is through a little bottle cap. Easy. The third screw you want to remove is on the bottom right here. There is the third screw removed. We have removed 3 of the 7 screws used in step 1. The last 4 screws, very self-explanatory. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to go ahead and remove those really quick. Alright, and now the last screw is coming out. I hadn't actually taken them all out because they like to stick in there, but once they're all sufficiently loosened, you can pop the bottom off. Every SP is going to be different, but mine has quite a tight fit here, so I'm needing to run my fingernail in between the seams so that I can disconnect the bottom half of the case from the top half of the case. Be very careful with this. The SP is not super delicate, but as you can see, it just kind of flew off on me. But there we go. We've got it removed. And unfortunately, the L and R buttons came out. But that's not going to be an issue because those are already present on the other SP. So I'm just going to set this aside up here. And now we have our motherboard. The motherboard can actually be removed right now, but we want to go about it very carefully. Alright. You might want to remove the power button. The power button can easily be removed from here. The volume button's actually fixed, so don't bother with that, but the power button likes to get in the way. And what I just did, the motherboard is mounted onto these 5 pegs right here, and you want to apply force upwards, as straight upwards as you can. Because now what we're dealing with is a detached motherboard, but inside we have a ribbon cable attached to it, as you can see. Now that's pretty dangerous. We want to be incredibly careful with this ribbon cable. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ever so slightly lift it, and I'm going to use a toothpick to poke the fasteners that are holding the ribbon cable in place, and hopefully be able to remove them. Now, I'm not going to be able to get a super good angle on this, but after I remove it, I'll show you the exact angle that I took. These things are really useful to have around when you're replacing an SP shell because they're not super abrasive, and they tend to get the job done without risking scratching anything. And we have our motherboard. Looks like autofocus wants to work now, what do you know? So this is our AGS 101 motherboard. As you can see, that's where all the buttons are. That's where the screen connects right there. On the other side, this is where the game goes. That's where the battery is. Pretty straightforward. But yeah, we're going to set this motherboard right here, and we're going to continue diving in. If you look right here, we've actually got our speaker, which is not connected in any way whatsoever. The speaker simply rests on the motherboard like so, and the pressure given by the SP, coupled with a little bit of magnetism in the speaker itself, is all that is needed. So I'm going to put the speaker as well as these two sound filters with the motherboard just so we don't lose them. The next step is the buttons. Well, we can just take those off really quick. They come with these rubber things over them. Start and select were actually already attached here. Then the rest we'll just tip this and they will come out like so. Alright, now we get to unscrew more screws. That sounds exciting, doesn't it? So, the next screw we're going to deal with is right here. It likes to hide just a little bit under the ribbon cable, but there's a screw under there, and we're going to unscrew that next. This screw actually just holds one component in place. And now that the screw is unscrewed, we can flip this over. This is a new model of Game Boy SP called the SP Slim. No, it's not, unfortunately. The screw I just unscrewed just holds this piece in place, and this piece actually goes around the ribbon cable, as you can see. So now with that off, we want to move on to the screen area. The only thing we have left to extract from here is the screen. The battery is super easy to extract. The motherboard we've already extracted, and now all that's left in here is the screen. But that is the major part of the Bright SP because, you know, the screen is what you want it for. So, next we're going to open it up like so. We're going to be removing these nubs, and we're going to be unscrewing the 5 screws found underneath them. Alright, so now the last piece is removed, and we can start removing the screen itself. So before we remove that, we want to go to the bottom here and just slide the ribbon cable out, like so. There. Now we can go here and just pull it off. And there you have it. There is your screen. Mine is really seated in there tight, and I'm not sure why that is. But this is an AGS 101 screen. And here are all the components, minus the shell, that make up a Bright SP. Now, our goal is simply to put them in here, but that might be harder than it seems. So, first of all, we're going to take the components of the other shell and just keep them back here. You typically don't need too many components of it, but one component you almost unanimously need is these 2 hinge pieces in here. It'll come with the colored hinge caps, but it will not include these hinge pieces most often. So we're going to have to get those out, and that is a pain, but we will get to that in a second. First, let's just open this up and see what it actually comes with, because this seller has hit me with surprise at every turn so far. I might get the surprise of finding out that it includes hinge pieces. Who knows? So, we have a sticker for the bottom. I like it because it says AGS 001 on the sticker. That's not what we have. Here is a new screen cover. You don't have to put that on if you don't want. You might want to if your screen is scratched, though. And we've got the bottom. Looks like it came with screws. And we've got the top. So, what I want to do first here is replace this screen cover because I think it's misaligned, and I do not like that. I don't want to be able to see lights. So I'm going to very carefully remove this screen cover. It's simply held on by adhesive. You might feel like you're breaking something, but you probably aren't. You just gotta pull very firmly and very slowly. It's gonna flex a little bit because it is made out of plastic, but as you can see, slowly and firmly. Firmly grasp it, everyone. That's right. Alright, and now the old one is removed. That screen is pristine looking, and I want to keep it that way, so time is of the essence here. You don't want to be in an environment where dust is falling on your screen. That is the last thing you want, because dust can get trapped under here, and it is no fun. Back to what I was doing. Seat the screen in here. Put this portion over it and seal the ribbon cable inside. You want to be absolutely certain and careful that this ribbon cable retains this delicate loop-de-loop structure. You do not want to treat this like a piece of paper. You want it to be able to loop and fluidly be in there as the screen flexes and opens and closes. I had a buddy who just tried to get it straight and just to shove it in through there, and that is not smart. This is how it needs to be. So, I'm gonna stick that on, and we're gonna get the bottom piece as well, because there's no reason not to just start putting the motherboard back in too. So first, put the filters here. Although, man, I almost want to not include the filters because the speaker itself is just going to look badass under there. Yep, we're not doing filters. Now, flip this upside down. Actually, we're forgetting something. Remember this screw that goes right here below the ribbon cable? We need to screw that in. What I'm going to do first is, this screen is good to go, so I'm going to go ahead and just screw these 5 screws back in to get the screen working again. Alright, so now we've got all 5 screws in around the screen. And we want to move on to these. They're just out of shot. There we go. Just pushed them in shot. You're going to have 2 big nubs and 3 small nubs. The 2 big ones go at the top left and right corner, and the 3 small ones fill the 3 remaining small holes. It's really starting to spring to life before our eyes, guys. Alright. Now, we can begin the next part. What we're going to do is we're going to place the screen where it's supposed to go. So, I'm going to keep it upside down so the buttons don't fall out, but this is the screen here. And if you remember, there's a little slit right there. Little slit right there that we need to feed the ribbon cable back through. Which we just did. Alright. This out. And one thing I'm going to do really quick actually is I'm going to go ahead and screw this piece in. Remember this piece here, so we can turn it over. Actually, yeah, the buttons are affixed in there, so this can be turned over without a problem. So this thing's giving me a little bit of trouble, and I figured out why. We want to go ahead and do the hinge work now. So I'm going to show you what that entails. We still have a piece in the old SP shell that we need to retrieve. So I'm going to put this aside for now. There we go. And we want to get our old lid back. If you look in there, right there, and right there, we need to get those out. The best way of doing that is using the screwdrivers. I'm going to actually switch to one of the older screwdrivers now because they're longer and more blunt. There we go. That came out very easily, thankfully. That one resisted more. Anyway. These are what we have now. 2 hinge pieces with yellow little tips on them, but the yellow tips can be slid off, and we're going to be replacing those with black tips. So, oh no, clear tips. That's very cool. So now we've got these clear tips that I can just slide on. And 2. Alright, now I'm going to take that out. That doesn't need to be in there. These 2 are currently not attached, as you can see. Only the ribbon cable is being threaded through. We're just going to attach them by shoving this in there. This takes elbow grease, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it in until it snaps a little bit, but it's still protruding, as you can see. And do the same to the other one so that I can just grip them both at once and squeeze. You might ask your dad for help with this. Dads are super strong and they can do it, but alright, that one just went in easy. This top one is giving me trouble. Alright, so now we've got our hinge pieces in. And now this thing behaves like an SP. The hinge has lock points. And the ribbon cable isn't moving much, so we know that functionality is good. Now I'm going to go ahead and screw in the last motherboard protector, or excuse me, the last ribbon cable protector. Alright, and so now we're back to the SP Slim that I joked about. Now we're ready to attach the motherboard. We've got this part screwed in. Ribbon cable's protected. The last difficult remaining part is plugging the ribbon cable in right here. After you've got that done, it's smooth sailing from there. You just gotta screw stuff back in. Don't be afraid to pull your ribbon cable a little bit, but don't pull it so much that you risk creasing it. The easiest way to destroy a ribbon cable, and thus your SP, is by accidentally creasing it. Which I may have just done. I don't think I did. You can get it a little bit damaged, you just don't want to damage it too much. So now we have our ribbon cable back in. Our next step is to not forget the speaker. You can still lift this up after you've put the ribbon cable in, don't worry. You just don't pick it up too much because you'll either tear the ribbon cable or just pick up the SP with it. Now you'll notice that the motherboard now gives a bit of bounce back, and that is because of the speaker. And that's just the way the speaker interacts with the motherboard. It has to have direct pressure. So we're going to be screwing it back in. Alright, this motherboard is now affixed. Flip it upside down, it's not going anywhere. Now I can open it up. You want to test the buttons because one time I did completely close up an SP and one of the buttons was stiff. These are all sounding good. You want to hear them and feel them click, so listen. These are all good. Alright. We're on the home stretch now, guys. Here's what we still need to do. So, like I said, the volume button's kind of pre-attached. We got our power button here. We're just going to line the power button up with the power toggle. We're going to stick this on. Fits excellently. And we're going to start screwing some more. Now we want to put the battery back in, line it up with these prongs, and I forgot something. This is a good learning point. So the next thing we want to do is screw in the battery cover, but there is no anchor for that screw, and I forgot about that. We're lucky I didn't screw too many things in. So I'm going to unscrew these two screws and show you how to not do what I did. There's the other. Alright, so I'm going to remove the bottom again. And you'll notice the spot below the battery where the battery anchor should be right there. It's a little square. If you look in my accessories kit, it comes with a little square piece. Now, on one side of this piece, it almost seems to be funnel-like surrounding the screw anchor. This is the side we want to be facing outwards. If you flip it over, the hole almost looks smaller and it doesn't have a funnel mechanism at the top. It'll focus again. So, you want this to be facing inside. So what we're going to do, we're going to take the appropriate one. Alright, we've got it in now. It's in there pretty tight. That part's a bit of a pain, especially when you forget to do it like I just did, but we're all good to go. I'm going to screw this back on. Now we've got the screws back in. We can stick the battery in its rightful spot. And now put the battery cover on. And ladies and gents, all there is now left to do is screw in the 4 screws. Last 4. It's all screwed in. This is a complete SP. Got the volume, got the power. So I'm going to go ahead and insert a game, and we're going to have our moment of truth here. In the past, I have turned on an SP after reshelling it and found either that I forgot to do something, I did something wrong, and I need to just reopen the system. It sucks, it really does, and I'm hoping that's not going to happen this time. There's a chance I'll turn it on and the screen will be all white, which means I bent the ribbon cable. Looks good to me though. Let's try. Sometimes the speaker won't work as well. Oh man, it's great. So the little light on the side does still exist. which indicates to me that it has nothing to do with my placement of the screen cover, but it's the screen itself, so that doesn't bother me too much. But guys, this is a beautiful SP, and now that we know it's working, we can apply the finishing touches. Turn my light back on real quick. We're going to take this sticker off. That's the sticker I got, everyone. It's just paper on the other side. I don't know how they expect me to peel this, because I peeled this off and it's still paper. That's a bummer. We're not going to be able to put that on now. That's actually really stupid. The paper is so fucking thin you can't take it off. Alright, so forget that. We're going to just crumble that up and throw it away. But the one that's truly important, the Nintendo logo. So now let's hope the adhesive on this one works. Look at it, everyone. This is the first transparent Game Boy SP that I've ever seen. You can really see the game that is in it. You can see the motherboard, the speaker, the ribbon cable. Oh, look how well I put it in. I'm so excited about this SP, guys. I still have not gotten a shiny on my latest project, which is this Rayquaza SP. So now we get to have a little race to see which of these two awesome SPs yields the first shiny. Anyway, thanks so much for watching my tutorial, everyone. If you have any questions, drop them down in the comments. I'll try my best to reply to them quickly. That being said, I hope you had fun watching, and I hope you're successful in doing this yourself. Have a good one.